Hiya! Hope everybody's being safe and social distancing. With all this time on our hands, I thought I'd put together a couple of videos. I'm going to start a series called Memories of a Tour Guide. As some of you know, I work in Croke Park, and before that, I used to work in the Aviva Stadium. I also worked in St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublinia. A couple of years ago, I actually did a course in Dublinia for culture and heritage for tourism. Now, part of the course was they would give us a street, and we had to make up our own tour. I was given Talbot Street. So we're supposed to pick 5 different places, and we talk about each of those places. Now, as part of the course, they would actually film us, so at the end of the course, they could show us how much we've progressed. So luckily enough, I have some of that filmed, and I'm going to show it to you here very shortly. So my 5 stops on Talbot Street were Guineys, a department store where Mrs. Brown shops, FX Buckley, a butcher's, Sean Tracy plaque, the memorial for the Dublin Monaghan bombing, and a shoe shop that specializes in Irish dancing shoes.
Now, directly behind me, you'll see the shop Guineys. And as we're walking down the street, you've actually seen 2 other shops if you were paying attention. One on North Earl Street, there's a Guineys, and then there's another one. There's actually 3, at one time there's 3 shops that were all in business, all named Guineys, all actually from the same family. Now, this one here was owned by Denis Guiney. He also owned Clerys. Now, the shop in Clerys went into liquidation in 2012. There was a tremendous uproar for the workers that were working in Clerys. They if you remember, I believe they were inside for a long time until they got a better deal from the new owners. And if you look up across the street on the wooden whisk above, there's a plaque up there. And on that plaque is a gentleman's name by Sean Tracy, who was from Tipperary. When he was 14, he was extremely very Republican. He was going to become a farmer. He was very good at farming. He was a member of the Irish Brotherhood. He was also a member of the Gaelic League. And then in 1919, him and a gentleman by the name of Dan Breen.
It's a good name.
Dan Breen had hijacked. They heard about a shipment of explosives that were going to be transported by the RIC, the Royal Irish Constabulary. So Dan Breen and a band, and Sean Tracy and a band of other IRA members actually hijacked the explosives. When they did this, they actually killed 2 of the RIC officers, and they got away with the explosives. Later on, the RIC, the Royal Irish Constabulary, and the British Army were both looking for Sean Tracy. He was one of the most sought-after men of that time of the IRA. He came to Dublin with Dan Breen, and they were to meet the IRA headquarters, the GHQ, and they were in a safe house, and the safe house was owned by a Professor Carlin, I believe his name was. The house was raided. The British took the professor, John Carlin, I believe his name was, and they shot him right then and there. Dan Breen and Sean Tracy both escaped. Dan Breen actually was wounded. He was shot, I believe, 5 times, and he was taken to the Mater Hospital under an alias. Sean Tracy was hiding out here in the city. He was evading the spies from the castle and the British Army. They were looking everywhere for him. They had a meeting, as I said before, across the street here in 1920. And in the meeting was finishing up when somebody at the front door heard a commotion. They looked outside and they heard and seen the British Army coming down the street along with agents from the castle. They yelled inside, the British are coming, the British are coming. Sean Tracy ran out, he grabbed the bicycle. The bicycle was a little bit too big. He tripped over the bicycle. The British spies from the castle ran up and they started shooting at him. Sean Tracy was able to shoot one of them, killing them right away, but there were too many of them. Sean Tracy was shot and killed right then and there. At this time, Sean Tracy would have been 25.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, they didn't film all the stops that day. I was very nervous. It was my very first street tour I ever did in Dublin. The course I did in Dublinia was a great foundation, and I learned a lot. Now, when I was doing the tour on Talbot Street, I learned a lot about Talbot Street, and I was able to use a lot of that information when I started to work at Croke Park. For example, when Tipperary make it to the All-Ireland final, fans from Tipperary will make their way to the Sean Tracy plaque on Talbot Street, where they will sing songs, they'll read a proclamation, and they'll make their way up to Croke Park to watch the match later on that day. Lucky enough, I was at Talbot Street last year, and I was able to do a little bit of filming. So here's a quick clip. Hi guys, thanks for watching. Please make sure you subscribe and share, and put your comments down below. Thanks for watching to the very end.
Whatsoever. But to the right here, there's a shoe stop, O'Neill's, which has been over 60 years in the same location here. And at the end of the street, will be on one of my stops, we'll be talking about another shoe shop. But these are the heart and soul of this street, unlike some other streets that we'll talk about later on in the tour. So I just wanted to point this out, that there's a lot of great mom and pop shops, as I would call them, that are still here, that still have the soul of the city.